Every moment on that stage is absolutely magical.
I actually feel like something within myself is waking up. It's affirming something.
People don't know that just to feel like you're a part of something, it changes you, and to win, it changes you totally.
When I get into that dress and I'm all dolled up, I feel absolutely beautiful, and just taking the stage, every moment is magical, and I just want it to last forever.
In the colored community, people love the idea of pageantry, and they love the idea of the regalia that goes with it.
I love pageants.
We just love it, love pageants.
Pageants matter to us because as factory workers, that is the only time when we come out to express ourselves instead of just sitting behind those machines every day.
Brings the whole coloured people of Cape Town together at once.
It generates that feeling of togetherness among the people. When you get in there, everything just makes you relax and get to be part of the family. From the crying, the happiness, the enjoyment, and when the final thing has been crowned, that's the ideal moment to capture that. Just that smile. It's $1 million smile.
I grew up watching pageants from a very young age, and I always envisaged myself to be this glamorous pageant queen. And it was real difficult because as a male, you can't do that. And I was always figuring out how am I going to actually accomplish this. And then my friend said, come with me one night and we'll go and watch a pageant. It was Miss Gay Western Cape 2009. And boom, the music started. Then it's like, wow. And then I was sitting there in the audience and thinking, yeah. 2010, I then entered. It was everything that I thought it would be. I just didn't win, but I persevered. And obviously in 2012, that was my year when I won.
We're now in February, and I've already bought my fabric for Miss Gay Western Cape that might only take place in October, November. I prepare way in advance. I chose the color brown, just so grounded and so humble, and I hope it's gonna work for me. In the past, I haven't been placed. I didn't even make top 5. It's very it's disappointing, and you do feel sad about it. But it's being part of the production, being on that stage. Trust me, that glitz and glamour, it's totally worth it.
Pageants are always about the fairy tales. That are fairy tales because they don't exist. There's a vast difference between the adulation and all of that goes along with it. That's so separated from the life of coloured women.
When I hear the word coloured, it means our low-class people living in a poor community, earning little wages.
It's a discrimination towards my skin colour because I'm not a coloured, I'm a South African.
Myself,
I'm a coloured.
I love to be a coloured.
Coloured is being white, black, and the beauty of being a coloured woman is the in-between.
When I hear the term coloured, I find it highly offensive. It excludes from all the opportunities in our country.
I think the consensus in the world currently is that Africa is the cradle of humankind. And the migrations from Africa are very interesting, particularly the migration south. The people who migrated further south became known as the San. And later on, another group migrated, and they became known as the Khoi. And the Khoisan settled large parts of South Africa, and particularly the Western Cape. And along comes 3 boats from Holland, and their lives change. The Dutch came to occupy and to dominate. And there were sexual unions and produce an offspring that is neither the one or the other. And this is the origin of the concept or the group of people who were later to be named coloured. These new people found themselves in a position of inferiority relative to the masters. And the ways in which these new people had to engage in order to make a go of things was to find the ways in the shadows from which they can emerge when there was some strategic matter that they wished to achieve.
I was born in a small West Coast town called Darling, located in the Western Cape. It was a segregated town, and it still remains a segregated town 20 years into democracy. And there's literally a railway line going through Darling that separates the privilege or the haves from the have-nots. Ever since I went to grade 1, I knew that I was different. So growing up was quite challenging because I was constantly teased because I didn't fit the mold in terms of what a boy was supposed to be. I remember in grade 10, these beautiful young girls going to the matric ball in the matric ball gowns. And I'm like, Mommy, ek wil 'n sex change hê. By that time, I already researched, trying to assess for myself, what is this that I'm feeling inside? Who am I? And I felt the relationship breaking down because we didn't understand each other, and we didn't want to understand each other because she comes from a very conservative religious background. In terms of the homophobia, just to stop, I wanted to live up to the idea of what a boy should be. And I started hanging out with the local boys and having to exercise with them, to speak in a particular way, walk in a particular way. Eventually, towards the end of grade 11, I attempted to commit suicide by drinking pills or attempting to drink pills. I felt that there was no way out for me in the small dorpie and its narrow views on certain things. And I didn't think that there was any love left.
I'm so tired of your conditional love. So tired of your conditional love.
So we have our wonderful constitution with our laws that protects people, but that's all on paper. And do we really realize that in our daily lives? The platform that you get when you enter a pageant is so real that you become a role model to people.
I know you can't see what you're offering me. Comes with strings attached. You're so detached.
And it's not fantasy. I think it's more imagination of what you would want society to be, that you want society to be happy. You want society to enjoy themselves, but you want society also to tolerate, respect, and appreciate. And that to me is what pageants are about.
Call me back when it's unconditional.
So it's the 2014 Miss Gay Western Cape, and the time has finally arrived. Today it's a preliminary round where we, as the finalists, will meet the judges with one-on-one interviews. Up close and personal. It's a bit nerve-wracking, but I look forward to a great day. Leila, how are you feeling?
I don't want to be nervous because if I'm nervous, I overthink. If I overthink, then I mess up. So I'll just remain in a state of calm.
My name is Diana Lima. I'm all the way from Mitchell's Plain. This is actually my 5th or 6th year of entering Miss Gay Western Cape, trying to win it. We'll see what today brings with regard to our one-on-one interview with the judges.
Good morning, I'm Siona O'Connell, and if you remember me correctly, I'm Miss Gay Western Cape 2012. I didn't think I was going to win because I didn't fit into the stereotypical beauty pageant physique, and I didn't think that they would choose a plus size because never have they ever chosen a plus size winner before. And the announcement goes, and Miss Gay Western Cape is, and it was just a wonderful moment. My gran was the first one to run on stage. My mom came on stage, and then we had a family moment, and it cemented the fact that they have accepted me dragging, and they have accepted me expressing who I am in that particular way, and it meant the world to me.
Generally, it's more acceptable for women to wear a pants and a t-shirt. It's also acceptable for women to wear a power suit. So I think patriarchy being the backdrop of a community, everything that aspires to it is almost accepted to a certain extent because you aspire to be like us. But anything that goes against it is going to be seen as something that should be rejected. So when we look at Gay Western Cape, society is also saying you should not be putting those things on your body, and we're giving society a subtle middle finger and saying, you know, F off, sorry for my language. And that speaks to freedom.
I used to love playing beauty pageants like Miss World and Miss Universe with my friends, and I was always Miss Venezuela. And I don't know why, but pageantry games was my favorite, and I always wanted to be a pageant queen.
Who's your biggest supporter?
I'd say my mother. She's at every single pageant. I've never had straight people discriminating against me. It's always gay people. When you do online dating or things like that, they always say, I don't want a feminine guy. He must be muscular. He must be blonde with blue eyes. So they want to be accepted by the straight community, yet they judge each other. And you have to start within your own community, within your own self, to be loving and accepting in order for others to love and accept you.
When you were creating your new you, what did you say you wanted to be?
Well, I had my mom in mind. Sadly, she's not a fan of what I do, but yet at the same time, she is the reason why I am Diana Lima, because of her character. And that's what she's always instilled in me. So if I win or lose, I don't care, as long as I try something.
We are being oppressed by a dominant type of culture that seeks to marginalize us in various ways. And so if we can't align ourselves in order to fight back and push back, then the challenge will be in vain from our side, because no one is truly free if all of us are not free. I want to work with my own community, and I'm being told by my own community that as a colored person that happens to be gay, that happens to cross-dress, that I don't have a right to do that. Then I ask myself, are we so backward in our thinking that we cannot use the concept of love to advocate for the acceptance of difference? If we join hands, then that already is one step in the right direction of eradicating oppression in the Western Cape and in South Africa at large and the world.
So my family, especially my grandparents, grew up in District 6, and then they moved to the Cape Flats because of the Group Areas Act, where they were forcibly removed because of apartheid and laws and things like that. And life is not all the roses and easy. So I was a bit hesitant to marry the two lives that I had, doing drag and being a teacher, because society dictates to you how you should be. You should be very patriarchal, and you cannot drag because what kind of teacher are you going to be and things like that. But for me, I see it as a motivator to people that shouldn't be narrow-minded and believe that it's only the street corner that is for them.
Cape Flats is complicated.
The formal introduction of what we now know as nationalist apartheid becomes really severe with the Group Areas Act in the 1950s. And the concentration of jobs at the opposite end of where people live creates this constant reminder that there are multiple parallel worlds in Cape Town. And this is etched very deeply into the psyche of particularly people in the Cape Flats. There's a deep resentment that it's not within their control either to access work or a decent standard of living or opportunity. The struggle has been rendered really complicated in the post-94 era.
Stories were being told. They don't like us. We're in a sandwich again. You know, all that kind of stuff. And I became desperate. And so I went and I asked if I could speak to Nelson Mandela to give him a sense of what is going to play itself out in this Western Cape. The group of people in our country are going to have the most difficult experience in trying to cope with this new South Africa, the colored people. And they particularly must be embraced, because what they'll see all around them is things improving for other people. The whites will still, because of all the equities that they already have, they will be able to look after themselves. And here is this one group who is now going to be called upon to sacrifice. But nobody is talking to them and welcoming them in. It's never happened.
We're not forceful because we're proud people. We're not used to handouts, we rather starve. So the thing is that they forgot us.
They are saying now they're not making enough money to maintain the Good Hope Center. They want to use the Good Hope Center to do some private filming or something like that with the Good Hope Center. You know, at the end of the day, we, again, as the colored people, as the clothing workers, have to suffer because where are we going to have our pageant now?
The city is telling us that they no longer have any respect or decency where our heritage is concerned, because the Good Hope Centre is our heritage.
Killing their voice, destroying them as a people, again.
Tried once to find the grammar. How do you speak about coloured people and colouredness? And we called the engagement Roots and Visions. But it didn't work, because the minute somebody said coloured, someone else would jump up and say, we're not coloured, we're people, dehumanizing us. So there was no real way to get into this. But all around you, you see people who are quite happy with their identity, which they claim as their identity. So they're Indian people. And they're happy with being Indian people. And they work together, and they live together, and they support one another. They're Jewish people who do this. They are African people. Sometimes it's a racial frame, sometimes it's an ethnic frame. But there's another way to think about blackness, apart from the shame. We only have the shame, the coloured and the shame that is attached to it. So how do we actually begin to use, what language do we use?
So you come into a small town, such as Darling, and you throw around a term such as transgender, and people are like, no, but they don't associate themselves with us at all. But then you throw a local term such as morphe, which many people think is very derogatory, but then they're like, it's fine, I'm a morphe. I can also say I'm a morphe. It has been a derogatory term in the past, but it's also a way of reclaiming it, because if it cannot hurt us anymore, then we can just as well use it liberally.
Go for the title and keep going for it. 10 years later, keep going for it, because I think all of you have experienced something fantastic for you in the art form of drag. All right, that liberation, that feeling of being able to go out there and be yourself. I don't think, Zhang, you'll ever be the same after winning Miss Gay. It's those kind of moments that you live for doing this. You know, it's what we aspire for. It's what we want to hear, we want to see. Is people really enjoying themselves and having those moments that will be life-changing, and it is life-changing.
I was always a very shy child, a very quiet child, and Zealand's completely opposite. She is flamboyant, she is in your face, she doesn't care. Whereas Ahmed is more conservative, more quiet, more reserved. But Zealand is just a go-getter, and she just does whatever she wants to do without even thinking of the consequences. And I think that's the beauty of it. You can call it bipolar, if you want to call it that, but I mean, it's just a different side of me.
Okay, so this side of my Hawking wardrobe, my dress room, this is the only bit of menswear I have. We're looking at suits and shirts. That's just very manly. Okay, now this is a bit messy, because this is from high heels to the patterns that I use for making my dresses to the actual dresses. Eon's budget is always tight, but Yvonne's budget, I always go over the top. This is one of my favorite cocktail dresses. I don't know, I just like how it shakes at the bottom when I perform.
One day I asked one of my friends, can I borrow one of your dresses? And then I was like, okay. When I stepped into it, I actually feel very comfortable in this. I actually feel like something within myself is waking up. It's affirming something within myself. Then became moving in and out of gender. The fact that I could be Clinton the one moment, and then I could be Liberty. And then all the other identities that were in between.
As a boy or as a man, I do have sort of limited self-esteem, if I can put it like that. And just with Wendy, she brings out the extra confidence, the extra boost. Being able to communicate with people, speak to people on all levels, whether you are wealthy or poor, having the heart to open up and just lend a hand and support someone else. And I think that's something that I've taken within Wendy as well.
After I won Miss Gay Western Cape, I went back to school, and by then, obviously, it was headline news that this person from Mitchell's Plain has won, and the children knew that. Their parents knew that. Everyone knew that. When I got to school, they went ballistic and they were cheering, and I was overwhelmed, and I couldn't believe that this was the reception that I got. It gives the opportunities to my learners to see that you can be whatever you want to be. You can be different, but you can still fit in.
So it's about difference and how we should think differently. Perhaps if we think differently, we might come up with more greater ideas in terms of how to challenge oppression, and it will do some justice to our constitution.
Was sold out even before they could advertise the event.
Miss Gay Western Cape is like one of the things that you really need to come to, whether you're gay or not. It's a celebration for just being fabulous and for being who you are.
It's good to showcase this community in this way, in a very positive light, when connotations are usually very negative. And yeah, we must always just support the girls that are putting their best foot forward.
It's hard stepping out in drag with hair on and heels. So I applaud anyone who does it.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Miss Gay Western Cape 2014 with the theme of United Nations Heal the World.
Miss Gay Western Cape in itself is a transgressive space, and I would want it to remain a transgressive space in the sense of speaking to difference. In a broader context, in terms of how we're challenging society as to how they think about gender. We have very conservative religious groups, very conservative fundamentalist cultural groups in South Africa. Coloured women coming from particularly conservative backgrounds based on religion step into that space with their own oppression. And if you look at some of these pageants where conservative Muslim aunties come out, and you get a sense of that freedom coming through. They're loving their own liberation through someone else. But eventually there might come a time where they're empowered enough to now say, I affirm myself for who I am, irrespective of the powers that want to oppress me as a person.
It matters to me personally why I love Miss Gay Western Cape. It's because I get to be a model, I get to be an MC in some of the events, to be a singer, a dancer. It gives me the opportunity to enjoy my talents and celebrate my talents, and it also gives us the opportunity to give back to the community. Every moment on that stage is absolutely magical. There's a slight bit of nerves, to be honest, but when I'm all dolled up, I feel like a lady. I feel absolutely beautiful, and just taking the stage, every moment is magical, and I just want it to last forever.
The dress is like that last statement that you make, and even if you did but poorly in the other rounds, you can really make up with a good evening gown that can carry you through.
The brown dress makes me feel absolutely beautiful. It makes me feel incredibly beautiful. That's the perfect word to describe it.
The design of my dress, one of my friends actually suggested, why not go a bit bigger and just get out of your comfort zone, because this is Miss Gay Western Cape, this is the ultimate crown. And so I think that defines who I am. Very simple, very plain, but willing to make a statement when necessary.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stage, our Queen of 2012, Siona O'Connell.
So in 20 years from now, I envisage my community, Mitchell's Plain, to be a safe space for people, a space where people can thrive, where people can be free, white people or black people, Indian people mixing with colored people, because post-1994, that is what we live for, to mix and to integrate and to grow and to appreciate and to tolerate.
Miss Gay Western Cape 2014 is Liberty Banks.
Somebody coming into that space from a conservative background is showing how people are yearning for difference to be respected and to be free. Giving a glimmer of hope for people who are different to affirm their own freedom for themselves and stand toward who they know they are and who they want to be. If I'm just going to look at this picture in terms of saying it's too great for me to challenge, I'm actually underestimating my community. And I'm underestimating myself.